Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of writing exponential functions. This is standard A.9C in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 14 of the 2023 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. All right, so looking at this problem here, right, they immediately call out the fact that it's an exponential function. Now, here's the interesting thing. If we're looking at our reference materials, we are going to find information for factoring, like trinomials, difference of squares, all kinds of properties of exponents, all kinds of linear equations and quadratic equations. We are not going to find anything for exponential functions. So we need to come into the STAAR test with that knowledge already in our back pocket, right? And let's just review kind of our standard form real quick. So in a pinch, we're just going to write y equals a times b to the x, right? So what do each of these represent? Well, this a is going to represent your initial amount. So a lot of times in the real world situations, it's going to be amount of money invested, right? Like your principal, if you're trying to calculate compound interest. If it's a population growth, it might say you started with 50 squirrels or 300 bacteria, right? You're always starting with something, and then it's either growing or decaying exponentially. And that's what this b is right here. So this b is going to be your growth rate if it is getting bigger. So that's going to be a growth rate that is greater than 1. And then it is going to be a decay rate if it's actually decreasing, getting smaller. And it's going to be less than 1. So it just kind of depends on whether it's increasing or decreasing. And then we've got that x, so that's, our independent variable. This is going to be our time unit in most of our real world situations. Number of years, number of weeks, number of months, right? You're studying it at a certain rate, okay? So let's see if we can kind of match that with what we're getting in this problem situation. So they are going to use an exponential function, so we can use that. It does look like we're using p of x, okay? So let's just go ahead and call that out as, I'll do it down here, p of x rather than y equals, okay, we're looking for an initial amount. That's going to be our a term. Look at that. The initial estimated population was 4,800. So I'm going to call that out right here. A equals 4,800. Right? And even though it's a very large number, that's fine to go ahead and have that 4,800. So that's going to sit in that a position, right? Y equals a times b to the x. So automatically, we should be thinking, okay, it could be d, and it could be a, but we should automatically be crossing off b and c, simply because they've got the 50,400 in that a position. That's where the initial amount needs to be. Okay? After the first year, the population was a town of 50,400. So that's where they get this right here. But that's interesting. I'm not quite sure what to do with that, because I'm looking for a rate, right? A growth rate or a decay rate. It's usually going to be in the form of a percent, like it grew 7% or it got 7% smaller. So I don't see any of that. But we can make an inference here. Look, if it went from 48,000 to 50,400, did it grow or did it decay? Well, it actually grew. It got larger, which means it needs to be greater than 1. So it is going to be a percent. They don't necessarily give it to us. And then they do say it's going to be X years, right? So I just need to figure out what that B is, right? And they've all got that X up there in that exponent. Well, take a look at my options right here. It needs to be greater than 1. Is that going to be greater than 1? Yeah, that's an improper fraction. That would work. Is this going to be greater than 1? Oh, no. That's going to be a decay rate, right? That's going to be very, very small. So the answer here is going to be A, because you can take the first year and you can divide it over the initial to get that actual rate you're looking for.